Alright, so here's a question I want you to try to answer. How many mistakes do you think can get made in a single poker hand? Seriously, how many? Today we're going to try to answer that question by reviewing a single live hand together. Let's get into it. Good morning, how we doing today? My name is James Sweeney, aka SplitSuit, and today I want to review a clip that was sent to me recently. This is from the Windy City live stream. It's a little bit older, but the play, honestly, pretty representative of Live 1-2 even today. So let's go through it. But right up at the top, I need to mention two quick things. One, even though we're going to laugh at a couple of plays today, please note that I'm not trying to dunk on any particular individuals. And number two, I'm not trying to dunk on anyone who plays Live 1-2 either. This is oftentimes the smallest game in a room, and the game most people are going to have to cut their teeth on, which means beginners play this as well as players that are trying to move up to 2-5. So again, if you play this game, look at this more from the side of trying to teach you what other players are probably doing in your game, especially when you don't see their whole cards very often, rather than trying to dunk on anything or anyone in particular. Alright, so with all that out of the way, let's jump over to the replayer and look at this hand together. Alright, so let's hit play on this, and by the way, I'll leave a link for the entire episode in the description box down below. But again, we're playing 1-2, roughly 150 big blinds effective across the board. And we'll just go through pre-flop and everything, of course, step by step. So under the gun makes a disciplined fold with king 8 off. A couple of good folds from early and middle position. We get this play, open limp with ace 5 offsuit. Mistake number 1. Continuing on, limp behind with 6-2 suited in the cutoff. Mistake number 2. Button limps with queen deuce offsuit. Mistake number 3. Small blind completes with 8-4 off. I'd say fold that. So we'll just consider that another mistake. And the big blind makes a disciplined check with king deuce suited. Isn't this very, very representative of Live 1-2? So honestly, the only player that played preflop even slightly correct as far as I'm concerned is the big blind, who checked their option with king deuce suited. Everyone else pretty much made blunders here, from open limping ace 5 offsuit, which is an absolute no-no, to limping behind with 6-2 suited, queen deuce off. Just none of this is particularly good, but also again very representative of the play you're actually going to see in a lot of Live 1-2 games. So if you're making any of these blunders in your own game right this moment, please make sure to fix those right this moment. A little bit of extra preflop discipline can go a long way, especially when it comes to things like open limping and limping behind. Alright, so continuing onward, we end up going 5-way to a flop. Flop is jack 8-3 with all spades, couple of checks, get a pot size bet from that flop flush with 6-2 suited, and all that looks fine so far. And then we get a call from the button, who is calling with the naked queen of spades in this spot. So I would definitely consider the button's call here to be another mistake, since if we think about the kind of hands that a player is likely going to fire in a 5-way pot on a monotone board, it's typically either going to be made flushes, where some of them are going to be nutted or second nutted, which of course all beats a third nut flush draw, and sometimes it's going to be like the ace of spades or king of spades plus something else going on with it, but your queen of spades draw is usually not super excited when it hits and you face more pressure. It's not really going to generate a tremendous amount of extra value most of the time if it does actually improve and you have the best hand. So a call here is really just putting more money in the pot that, again, are you really looking forward to even a medium to large size pot? I don't think so, and as such I think this is a much better spot just to fold with the queen deuce as opposed to continue with it. So I think it's safe to say the Roger's call here is yet another mistake in the hand overall. Everyone else finds that fold button on the flop, and we end up going heads up to the turn. 35 in the middle, it is the ace of spades. Mike decides to check, and a very, very quick bet from Roger for 25 into a 35 pot. So man, oh man, is that ace of spades on the turn a beautiful, beautiful card for Roger, right? Since it now is impossible for the other player to have the ace of spades in their hand, and is it likely that that person was firing with just the king of spades? Yeah, not going to happen a ton of the time if you think about all the possible hands in their range. So as such, they should be feeling very, very comfortable with their queen of spades flush right this moment. So overall, I like the bet. I think that is totally fine, not really a mistake. However, I would say it's a possibility that the cutoff completely missed the fact that the button had their betting chips totally ready in their hand before the action was made. The action was made very, very quickly, and as such probably pretty comfortably, and as such continuing with this 6 deuce flush is questionable to say the least. There are lots of players where I will continue against it at least once and really make them show me or force them to show me another fire on the river, but I don't think this is the exact spot to do it. So after there is that bet, you know, Mike does take a little bit of time and decides to make that call. And while I can't fault him again against certain player types, I don't think the average 1-2 player is firing here a tremendous amount with enough air, especially when, again, it's quick, and unless you're planning on calling that river bet a lot of the time, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble there. But I'm not going to continue or consider this a massive, massive mistake. However, on the river, which happens so darn quickly, we have to talk about this for a moment when the board pairs with that ace and there's a very quick check. So the ace of hearts on the river is actually quite interesting, and I think it's a mistake for Roger to just instantly check this behind. Since I'm sure Roger's looking at this and they're like, well, I don't have the nut flush and also the board paired, so now I'm behind to some boats and stuff like that, why not just check this behind automatically? However, if I'm playing in an average 1-2 game, I don't think there's a tremendous amount of boats I have to be concerned about, right? There are maybe a couple of them, but I think pocket jacks raises preflop, pocket 8s probably opens or isolates preflop, so we're looking at like pocket 3s exactly, and maybe like, I don't know, ace 8 out the back door, and even ace 8's probably not calling every single time on the turn when it 4 flushes. So this is the kind of spot where I think if you have a decent flush here, whether it's the king of spades or the queen of spades based upon the way this hand is rolled out, I think both of them are very easy value bets, and it might not be a huge bet, might only be like 40 or 45 bucks into this, what, $85 pot, but I think you can definitely get a bet away here for value a very good chunk of the time against your average 1-2 opponent. So again, this to me looks to be a pretty darn representative 1-2 game. Lots of mistakes, pretty much one mistake per street post-flop and a bunch of mistakes pre-flop. This is just classic 1-2. But again, the big takeaways here, definitely make sure to be thinking post-flop about where you can get those extra value bets in, not getting too sticky with really marginal kind of draws on the flop, especially when someone's firing in a very multi-way pot, and then that pre-flop discipline is going to go a long way. And again, at the end of the day, the big hero here, the golf clap, needs to be given to the big blind, who played every single street pre-flop and post-flop perfectly. Nice job. But anyway, I'm curious if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it. If you do, please give the video a thumbs up and also leave a comment down below and let me know if there's any other streams that you think are worthwhile or specific hands within a stream, especially with timestamps, please, that you'd like me to review. Otherwise, I'll see you back shortly with a brand new video. In the meantime, good luck out there and happy grinding.